I was listening to someone recently talking about their relationship breakup. It had ended, and after a few days, the person felt it hadn't hit them just yet. This made me instantly intrigued in this comment, not necessarily the personalisation of the statement, but in general. Are we so conditioned so heavily that our expectation for grieving can create our own misery at times? What I mean by this is that this person stated that it hadn't hit him yet, so he obviously was not as upset about the breakup as he had expected to be. If we live outside of presence, where memories and dreams reside, we may succumb to our ego and become fixated on the past wrongs and broken dreams. This can create pain within us. Here, we may deflect from ourselves and we may exacerbate our suffering by attaching to blame. A common measure used as a default to avoid asking ourselves questions that look deeply at ourself. Why do I become triggered by the other person? Why do I feel resentment, shame, sadness, anger, or whatever emotion that arises when triggered? This is where the work and focus should be steered. A breakup could be looked at like a dead-end street. We may not have known the journey would lead to this, but if we were travelling in a car, we would simply have to turn the car around and travel back a little to find a new route. It would be less likely that we would stay stuck at the end of the road, annoyed, frustrated, and questioning where it all went wrong. When a relationship doesn't last the distance that we'd hoped for or maybe even expected, it may be looked upon as a failure. But this is not helpful in any way. This is the ego speaking. I remember my mum reminding me one time many years ago when I felt heartbroken at the end of a relationship, and she said to me, sometimes angels come into our lives only for a short time. It was so helpful to me because although that relationship wasn't perfect, none are, so much about it was truly magical. I opened my heart in that relationship and I allowed love to flow. It ended and it felt like it was meant to. It was a season of experiencing love. I still went through the pain of him not being there, but I let go with love. I'm deeply intrigued by the ego and the manner that it can coerce us into our own misery by keeping us fixated on information that doesn't lead anywhere. Often we'll feel disempowered, and instead of trying to learn from the experience, we remain ruminating. Just the word ruminate sounds like rumour. We make things up in our own head that we really don't know truthfully the answer to, because when we focus on another person, we don't truly know what their perspective or emotional stance is. We create our own resistance through our own denial to look at ourselves. I wonder then if grief is sometimes just ego's opportunity to lead us into our pain and denial. When a person dies, we will inevitably experience some form of grief due to that person no longer being with us physically. But I believe death is not an ending, and certainly it's part of the cycle. Yet we are seemingly conditioned to react as if it should never happen. And often people may say God has failed them by taking that person away. God, love, created us all, and death of the physical body could also be considered like a graduation or a rebirth into a higher dimension. It's not the ending of the soul. The person we loved, that we still love, with or without their body. And that is the beauty of love. If a person lost half of their body, we would still love them. If they lost their hearing, we would still love them. We may have to adjust to their physical impairments, but the love we have for someone is not broken because of a disability or impairment. Any adjustment in our thinking is our own lessons to learn. Anything that brings us discomfort or emotional instability is ours to look upon to learn from, although people can aid and guide us. So if grief has not arisen after a seemingly significant event, such as a relationship breakdown, a death, an illness, an accident, or whatever it might be, then maybe that means the person is not in denial, but in presence. Instead of being trapped outside of presence, they are comforted within it. Things come and go, but when we hold on to something that causes our pain and suffering, this is our chance to look, and we can choose to simply let go and move forward, or we can stay stuck and fixated, or we can stay and learn and gain clarity by doing introspective work. There are always choices. There are no definitive answers to this inquiry other than love. Love is always the answer because it transmutes pain into healing. In presence, we have no pain. So if you wonder why you are not suffering after a significant event, maybe you're in presence. I hope you enjoyed this video and my ideas. Please feel free to comment and add your own. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you. I'm Sammy. Ciao.